Good evening, class. This is Mrs. Albright, and tonight we're working on Module 5, Lesson 31, and our objective is to practice adding mixed numbers. Now, I know we already started working on this in class today. I will be showing you a few more strategies to help you understand this concept and be able to add these more quickly. So for our first example, we have 2 1/8 plus 1 5/8. And the strategy we're going to use is to draw a picture. So I'm going to model my 2 holes. And because it's 2 1/8, I need to draw an extra hole, which I'm going to break up into eighths. So here I have my 2 holes and my 1/8. And I'm going to be adding that to 1 hole and 5/8. Now my 5/8, I can then add them onto this hole that I already created. So I just added my 1 hole that I had here, so I can color that in. And now I need to add 5/8 more. So I'm going to go back to this hole that I had started drawing with my 1/8, and I'm going to go ahead and add my 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So when I look at this all together, I can see that I now have 1, 2, 3 holes. And then the fractional part that's left, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of 8 equal parts left. So my answer to this problem is 3 6/8, which you can see in the diagram. For this next example, I'm going to practice with using a number line. So I'm going to start by drawing a nice long number line, and I'm going to start with my 2 hole because that is the whole number that is in this value. So I'm going to go ahead and start at 2. And the next thing I'm going to look at, I'm not going to pay attention to this fractional part yet. That's going to come later. I'm going to look at the next whole number, which is 3. So I'm going to go ahead and hop 3 places on the number line. So 3, 4, 5. So here, to go from 2 to 5, I added this 3 hole. Now I need to keep going on my number line. I'm going to try to write that 5 a little more clearly. So I'm going to add my 6 hole and my 7 hole, and because now I'm adding the fractional parts, I'm going to break this part of the number line up into fourths. So between 5 and 6, I'm going to break that into fourths and that into fourths. And now the fractional parts that I have to add are the 3/4 and the 1/4. So I'm going to go ahead and add 1, 2, 3. There's my 3/4, and then 1/4 more. So together, all of those, 3 plus 3/4 plus 1/4, and I started with my 2, I end up landing right on 6 on a number line. This next strategy is improving our mental math focusing, and we are going to work on making a whole. And what that means is taking our eighths and turning that into 1 whole. So here I'm going to look at the fractional parts first. I can rewrite this number sentence. Instead of 2 5/8 plus 3 5/8, I can say 2 plus 5/8 plus 3 plus 5/8. And I can group my whole numbers together. So I have 5 whole. And now with these last 2, if I group them together, I would have 10/8, and that would be an improper fraction. So in my head, I want to think about, so this is the mental math that I'm doing in my head. If I already have 5/8, I want to think about how many eighths would it take to get me to another whole, to get me to 8/8. And the answer is 3. So 5 plus 3/8 would get me to 8/8. So what I can do is decompose this second fraction to 3/8, and then whatever the remainder would be, in this case it would be 2/8 because 3/8 and 2/8 add up to 5. Now I can group these 2 together to make my 1 whole. And then the last part I have left over is just this 2/8 right here. So I have rewritten this mathematical expression instead of 2 whole plus 5/8 plus 3 plus 5/8. Now I have rewritten it so it is 5 plus 1 plus 2/8. And my final answer is 6 whole and 2/8. So that is the strategy for making a whole. And the last one that I want to go to, it is very similar to the one that we just did. We're going to take the fraction 4 and 7/12 and add it to 16 and 9/12. Now when I estimate this in my head, I know that 4 and 7/12, I know that 4 and 16 is going to be 20, and these two fractions together, 7 plus 9, I think my answer is going to be at least 21. It's going to be a little bit bigger than 21. So when I say adding like numbers, what that means is I want to put my whole numbers together and I want to put my fractions together. So I will rewrite this as 4 plus 7/12 plus 16 plus 9/12. And what I can do is put my 4 and my 16 together to get 20 whole. Then I'm going to put my fractions together. 7/12 plus 9/12 is 16/12. And so I could write my answer as 20 plus 16/12, but this 16/12 is an improper fraction. So now I need to decompose that and turn it into a mixed number. And I know that there are 12/12 in one whole. So the 16/12 is going to be one whole, and then I'm going to count up from 12 to 16. And I have 4/12 remaining. So now I can finish this addition sentence, 20 plus 1 and 4/12. And my final answer will end up being 21 and 4/12. So those are a few different strategies about how you can add these numbers. The goal is to start looking for ways of how to group numbers so that you can add things mentally. The next few slides, you'll have some opportunities to try it on your own. Make sure you are using your scratch paper. Go back and rewatch the video for the section that makes the most sense for you so that you can add these. So the first one for you to try is 2 and 2/5 plus 2 and 4/5. 3 and 5/12 plus 1 and 11/12. And finally 4 and 7/12 plus 16 and 9/12. Please bring any questions that you have back to class tomorrow. We will continue working on this. Have a great night.